here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. I'm ready to go. I'm finally ready to go. Last night we had a live mix webinar, which was exciting and good, and I had tons, if you can believe it, I had tons and tons of audio issues on my audio live mix webinar, and that just goes to prove to you that you can never be too prepared. You ever been at your church or getting ready to start your live stream, and you start the live stream and the computer freezes right before you get the live stream started? Well, it does happen. It actually happens to us quite often. We're getting a new computer. So we realized as we have been doing live streaming, there are going to be mistakes. There are going to be things that happen. So today, for those of you who were in my live webinar last night, thank you for your patience, of course, and you had some great questions. I deleted all of that playback because I've realized as I've been working with Webinar Jam for several years now, it's good for webinars, business webinars, things like that. What I found and I actually solved the problem. I solved the audio issue today. I was able to get on there. I was able to have audio. It sounded good to me. But then when I did a test, the audio coming back to you guys was it sounded like a mixtape that you played about 30,000 times back in the day in your car. And I think that the Webinar Jam platform is really business webinars, talking. It couldn't handle this Logic mix that I'm getting ready to show you. It could not handle it. So when I go into Logic and play some stuff, it sounded like an old mixtape. And so this morning, I really want you guys to get the value of hearing what I hear. So I just dumped the Webinar Jam webinar. I'm doing it live here on Facebook and YouTube. So you can ask your questions just like you did last night if you were in my webinar then, and you can type into the YouTube or the Facebook chat, okay? YouTube or Facebook chat, or anybody, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Periscope, if you're on any of these platforms, you can ask your questions. So this is still going to be a question answer webinar, and I'm still going to have a coupon code for you. It's in the description right now, actually. It's 50% off of our let's see what it is. It is 50% off of the Foundations audio bundle and the team model bundle and the individual. So it's just, look, it's 50% off, okay? It will save you money. That's the important part on just the live stream and mix audio stuff. So if I go to my browser here and I will show you, I'm going to show you a lot of stuff today, but this is, if you go to Worship the King or Worship Band Builder and you go into courses, let's go to Worship Band Builder. That's a better one. That's an easier way to get there. If you go to Worship Band Builder, where you can save 50% off is, if you go to bundles, this is very specifically for audio live stream foundations, and you can save 50% off of this segment right here. And I told you guys about it last night. This isn't a sales webinar at all. So this is my gift to you. It's 50% off of this. If you want to do it as a team, you can do it as a team. It's more expensive, but it's a lifetime team access. So it's $229. You can get 50% off that price. If you want to do it individually, if it's just you and you're like, hey, I'm just me, I'm just trying to learn this, and that's the case for a lot of people, you can do it even cheaper. It's only $97 for the actual course if you just want this one course, which is Audio Stream Foundations. There you go. Links are in the description, and the diagrams are also not in the description, but this is the diagram I'm talking about today. It'll be in my comment section here. Okay, so you got all your links, and the other most exciting thing that I have, it's not this exact week because every week we're playing and doing more music, but this is my Logic mix template. So for you guys who are in Logic and you want to learn along with me and actually practice, you can download this. There's a few gigs. You can download this thing right here. All right, so enough of that on the website. We're talking about live mix training. Anytime you have a question, pop it in here and I'll answer it to you. Last night we went over my whole template, how I set it up, just sort of what it was, and we talked about different things. We talked about room mics and reverb, and I'm going to show you some of that stuff today. So first of all, let's talk about building a mix from the bottom up. And that's what I talk about a lot, especially in my team and in my training, to get you guys to build a good mix from the bottom up. Let me listen to this part of this mix. We'll see what it is. This is rehearsal from one of our rehearsals last week. There may be some of this might be from service, a couple of these snippets. I just get snippets of the service, so I will get snippets of stuff. So if I played this right here, Okay, I like that snippet. Let's just go with this snippet right here, and I'm going to do a bottom-up mix. So if I were to get to church and they were playing, I would turn everybody off, okay? I'm just going to mute everybody. I'm going to mute everything, except I'm going to leave my room mic and my main verb on. Okay, I'm going to mute all these people. And sometimes I do it by solo, but today I'm going to do it by mute because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to end up unsoloing everything anyway. So I'm going to show you how I would get this down. I'd mute pretty much everything but the drums, and then I would listen to the drums. And this is the bottom-up mix approach. I want to build the bottom foundation strong. I want the drums to be popping, cracking, amazing, and then I'm going to go on to the bass. Then I'm going to go on to the vocals. Okay, so it's drums, bass, foundation, vocals. I'm going to put the vocals in line. All right, so let's listen to the drums. Okay, I'm gonna roll this. Make sure I'm in this. Okay, so I'm listening to the drums. I'm gonna turn off the reverb because we did talk about that last night. So here's the drums with no reverb, no room mic. And the good thing about this, you can solo each little piece of this. Okay, and this is you hear what's happening here. I'm gonna give you guys a little tip. The drummer this week, he decided he was going to move the microphone during rehearsal. He's like, well, I wanted you to have some hi-hat. So the snare mic is just all hi-hat. So I'm going to have to move to a different snippet because I talked to him and he showed me that. And I was like, no, we need the snare. We need to have the snare. So let me go back. In other words, he moved the drum mic up to where it would be like sort of picking up the hi-hat and the snare. In our room, you don't need that. So you can hear the difference. That's the snare mic, okay? Here is where he just had the snare mic in the right place. So it's much more punchy. There's no reverb and no room, okay? So that's what the difference is. Listen to the room and the reverb. So I'm sending a ton of that snare to the reverb. So some of you guys are asking last night, why do I get this stale sound? And this is what you get in a stale sound. When you turn off the room mic and the reverb, you get this sort of sound right here. It's pretty good, but it's not. Let's go back and listen. Now we add some room mic in. That's our room mic, and then we add some verb. That's all. So it's just. So I need you guys to understand one thing. I'm using no drum replacement, no tricky stuff, no stuff last night in my webinar I talked about. I'm simple. I'm going to create a very simple approach to mixing. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of stuff. Our computer is a little bit slow, and we don't have just tons of equipment. Tons of plugins. It's mostly just compressors and EQs. That's it. And then I put one master reverb over here. That's where I get to. So for those of you who were in my webinar last night, you'll get that. The one reverb is here. Anything I want verbed, I send to the verb. And then we're going down to our approach here. We got the drums. And the drums sound good because we have source program good. We've been working on the drums for several months, just the drums. Each week we'll be like, well, let's get the bass drum a little better. Let's get the snare a little better. Let's move the toms. Let's get these mics on. Let's change these around. So we've been moving this stuff around for several months, and that's what it takes. It takes you have your front of house mix, and we talked about this a bit. You have your front of house mix, and that's fine. You go into the live stream, and then it's like, oh, what in the world? So now you have to start changing things. It's not going to change as much in the front of house. If you move the kick drum mic around, it's not going to change as much in the front of house as it is going to sound more apparent in the live stream. It just is. It's more microscopic in the live stream to me. I mean, it's more transparent. The room is full of stuff, and you can move the mics around a little bit in the room and maybe not notice. In fact, when he moved that snare mic up and put it on the hi-hat and the snare, I didn't even notice in the room. Because there's a lot going on in but when you get into the live stream, you can go, oh, that's weird. That sounds like a lot of bleed of hi-hat. So if you got a pretty good front of house mix and everything's pretty good, that's That's what I'm always saying. You got to get good program material from the bass drum, from the acoustic. Everything has to be good already when you get into going into a broadcast mix. Everything already has to be good. If your bass guitar is plunky and weird and not right, you might not notice it in the room. I mean, you just might not notice it as much. It might sound okay to you in the room, but then you listen to it in the live stream, you're like, ugh, what is that signal? So this is what I mean. So get good program and material, and then start mixing. Now, our bass drum was doing something weird. I had the bass drum mic a little bit too close to the head. I believe it was getting some wind noise, and it was kind of overloading the mic every 10th hit. It is annoying, yes, but it's what happens. We moved it. I put it about 4 fingers out yesterday in rehearsal, so we're fixing that. I never would have noticed that in the house, though, so... Let's listen to the overheads. I want to listen to them loud so you can hear. They're not the greatest overheads ever, I'll be honest with you. But they're what we have. They are picking up some stuff. They've got a little bit of EQ. I wonder what the EQ is. Okay, we've just got some weird EQ on there. So they're going to be just kind of soft. I've noticed we get a lot of bleed. We get a lot of bleed from the other mics. So for example, the hi-hat, the snare, it's coming through these other mics, and that's okay. That's okay for me. I'm not too worried about the bleed. I like the bleed. I actually like it when the drums are more live and they actually feel like they're real drums. They can bleed a little bit, and I'm fine with that. Again, you can pop your questions in the comments section there. Okay, so here we go. All right. All right. Let's get to a different section because that bass drum smack is really annoying me. Let's see. Let's go to a section that they didn't actually mess up the drum mic. Let's see. I'm just looking through the stuff here. I'm gonna have to go back a couple weeks. You know what? That's fine. This is actually a better section. So I've got a good, nice smacky snare. I've got the reverb. I put some reverb on here. I've got the room mic going. I've got that, and that's just basically the drums. Okay. Now let's go for the next thing. Let's put the bass guitar in here. Okay. And I'm gonna make sure they don't stop playing. There we go. All right, bass drum, or bass guitar. We're gonna unmute the bass guitar. Now I'm playing, and I'm in headphones, so it's kind of hard for me to tell sometimes. But you're gonna have to do what you can do. You can listen to the bass. This guy had a pretty good rig. I mean, so it's. Put the drums and bass in there. Let's say that you think that's pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do in my mix, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the vocals in the mix. The vocals are next, because I feel like if you got the drums, and this is sort of the philosophy, my mix philosophy, if you have the drums and the bass are really good, they're going to feel right. I mean, some music, that's all they have, drums and bass. So if the drums and bass feel amazing, and then you can hear the vocals, the songs should sound pretty good. Okay, it can be that simple. So let's make it that simple. But simple is going to be your friend when you're trying to get this mix critique. And again, you can ask your questions in the comments section. I will answer them. So I'm going to bring in see if Maddie's vocal is here. I guess she's here. I'm going to put the lead vocals right in line with the snare. snare, just right on top of the snare. You're going to want the lead vocals in my mix philosophy right about in line with the snare. A lot of people will bury the drums. They'll bury the bass, they'll bury the snare, they'll bury the bass guitar, they'll bury all the instruments, and they throw the vocals right on top. And what happens is you have no oomph, you have no feel, you have no music. Now, some people would say I mix the vocals too low, but if you can't hear the band, then you can't hear the music, you can't feel the bass, you can't do that. So it's my own philosophy. I think you should adopt it, but it's up to you. You're the mixer. You can mix the vocals really, really loud. The only problem is, and I've talked about this in a lot of videos, if you get the vocals too hot in the mix overall, people have to turn up the mix, and they keep trying to turn up the mix to hear the rest of the band, and then the vocals just keep going higher and higher and higher, and pretty soon it's all vocal to them. So you want to have a solid foundation if you're mixing this. Bass, drums, vocals should definitely be on top of the mix, but they should not be outside of the mix. In other words, they should be on top of the mix, but they shouldn't be on top of the mix, like outside the mix area. I mean, there's an area that we're listening to. If the vocals are way up here and the band is way down here, you separate them too much. It sounds annoying. That's my opinion. Here we go. So here's where I'm going to try to place the vocals. I'm going to try to place the vocals in here. Now here's what happens if I turn off the reverb of this whole mix. So if you have no reverb, it is not good. It is not good. It's what one of you guys were asking last night. Do I just need more reverb? Yes, you just need more reverb because it's still a pretty good sound. I mean, we turn the reverb off in this, and it doesn't bother me too much. I mean, it doesn't sound terrible, but if I put everybody in the mix, if I put everybody else in the mix and turn off the reverb, which I'll do shortly, you'll be like, oh wow, that's a mess. It does create sort of a mess. So here's no reverb, and then I'll move it in slowly. Here we go, a little bit. That's just a little bit of reverb. Still not enough for me, but we're going to keep going. So that's just a little bit of reverb. I'm going to put a little even more. I'm going to put a little more, but that's probably an acceptable enough. Our mix is pretty verby. Okay, I will give it that. Some people will not like that, and so pull it down a little bit. How I would set the reverb is I would listen to it until I hear it, until it annoys me, then I would pull it down. So watch this. Oh, that's annoying. So I'd pull down. I'd pull down after that annoying moment. I'd pull it down just a bit until it starts to fill in. The natural sound of the vocals come out. Then the reverb is just sort of hugging the sound. It's not really going crazy. So now my room mic. Let's listen to the room mic by itself without the reverb. And it's unruly and it's nasty, but it is part of my process. So listen to this. This is no room mic. I'm gonna pull the room mic in. See, just that room mic alone created a little bit more of like, oh, that sounds like a band in a room. That's what it is. That's what that mic is. No room mic, completely dry. Now I'm going to put just a little room mic. I used very little room mic. I'm literally almost non-existent. Sometimes I feel like it might be there just to make me feel better. Okay, it's not necessarily as heard as you might think. Okay, it might just be there for me to feel good about myself at the end of the day. All right, that might be it. Because it's really little. This is too much room mic. That's way too much room mic, so I've noticed our room mic does sort of muddy stuff up, so I have it down really low. If I want to use it, I can. If the audience starts singing really loud, or if they're clapping, it will come through. It will come through. It'll be beautiful. All right, watch this. Main verb is going to be on. I'm going to pull it in now. Notice the vocal and the snare drum are pretty similar. All right, so this is a mix. This is all you need right here. This is all you need. Okay, now the band, guys, there's a whole band on stage right now. I only am letting you hear, at this moment, you're hearing the drum set, the bass guitar, and the lead vocalist. And I'm like, that's pretty good. We could just leave it just like that, and you could lead worship. There's no guitars in there yet. There's nothing. That's it. And I'm like, that's good. That's pretty good. This is where you absolutely need to be in my mixed philosophy and training. You need to be solid at this moment. It needs to feel and sound good at this moment. If it doesn't right now, then moving forward, it's just going to get worse and worse and muddier. At the end of that road, you're going to feel uninspired. You're going to feel cacophony of, I don't know, my piano tuning mentor would tell me it would just be like a, I don't know, cacophony. I don't know. I can't even use the word right now. But that's okay. But he would it's the idea that everything is out of place. And everything is just sort of, just in your ears, just not making sense, okay? If you can get to this point with your band and it sounds good, so you've got a good vocal verb, you've got a good drum set and a good bass player, and they're actually playing good, okay? So they have to be good. As an engineer, I'll tell you this right now. As an engineer, and I'll give you a little mix encouragement. If you're struggling at the end of the day, if you're getting to the end of your Sunday and you're listening and like, oh, that is not great, or that's terrible, or oh my gosh, what is that? What is happening? You know, if you do all of the right things and you've got all this stuff down, let's say you get the bass and the drums and the vocals in the right place, and your musicians are just not doing it. They're not gelling. They're playing wrong notes. They're just off. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to like that. It doesn't matter how good you mix. In other words, you can't mix the band to be good, okay? That's the thing as the engineer. You can't mix this band to be good. They're going to have to be good up front. That goes all the way back to the very beginning. The drum set has to be tuned. The drum mics have to be in the right place. The bass guitar has to be tuned with good strings on it. The bass guitar has to be plugged into a decent direct box or a preamped direct box on the stage. From there, your acoustic guitar players have to have good strings on them. They have to be clear signal coming to the board. They have to be playing the right thing. There's a lot that happens before we ever get to the broadcast mix. And a lot of it is not going to be your fault. Now, if it is your fault, I'm going to say this isn't really a blame game, but I mean, if you're trying to be an artist behind the console and it's not working, you got to go to the beginning. You got to be an artist yourself. Go back to the beginning. What's happening in this chain that is causing problems? Now, if your band is already a pro band, if the stage is already pro, your gear is already good, then it's on you. You've got to get your skill up. You've got to get your ability. You've got to go, oh, maybe I'm going to add some reverb and it's going to change things. This is you. But I've found, especially in church mixing, there are a lot of times when it's like, it's not your fault. You're not going to make the vocal harmony sound perfect by just mixing it. Now, you can make it sound better, or you can say subtract things that would musically be annoying. Like, let's say they're doing harmonies that aren't right, and you're like, I'm going to pull that harmony down so that it's not going to be so annoying. Or if somebody's guitar goes out of tune mid-song and you're hearing, oh, this out of tuneness, you can subtract things from the mix. What if you subtracted every single thing from the mix except for drums, bass, and vocal, and that's what was coming through your live stream? It wouldn't be that bad right now. Today would be great. it would be great. We've got a great bass player, great drummer, great vocalist, one single person on each thing, and you've got this. All right, so let's add some more. Let's move on from there. Not everything can be your fault, but there's a lot that you can mess up. So let's see what else we can mess up in the mix. We've got a good foundation, so let's go down. We're going to go to the band now. We're going to add in, we're going to see what we have, first of all. And my template lets you do this. Each snippet, it might be a different Sunday, might be a different vocalist, so you can kind of, okay, what do we have here? Let's listen. We've got this acoustic player is doing nothing. Okay, that's just bleed. Okay, so that is just acoustic bleed. We have this acoustic too. I believe she should be playing. Okay, yeah. So listen to the acoustic. It's a little bit panned over to the right. It's got a lot of reverb on it. So we can add that in. Let's see, I think do we have keys? Okay, we have keys, we have acoustic, and we have electric. Those are the three things that we have. Now, and there's a lot going on right there. Okay, so let's build this into what we might think would be a great mix. Now remember, the drums, the bass, and the vocal are set and they're carrying this, and then we'll get to the final thing we're gonna get to is the backup vocals, okay? So the guitar player is very chimey. He's very chimey, he's got very patty stuff going on. Let's see what he's doing. He's got some swells, beautiful. This is great tone. This is Tommy. Okay, so we know what he's doing. Let's listen to the keyboard player. It's chimey too. So these two are going to compete a little bit. And then we have an acoustic. All right, so I like this. Now you're gonna know who's playing on stage. I was just trying to figure out what's in this mix. But you're gonna know I've got my keyboard player, my electric player, and so when you're mixing, you're gonna know. So now that we know, let's go ahead and put in just the acoustic. Okay, so I'm gonna turn these guys down. I'm gonna mute these guys, and I'm gonna just acoustic add to the mix. Acoustic guitar is very rhythmic, so I'm not going to use a ton of acoustic guitar in the mix ever. I'm not going to use a ton unless they're breaking, okay, breaking down. Not emotionally breaking down. I mean, unless they're breaking, unless the song is breaking down, and then I'm going to add some acoustic in it. Let's see. Okay, so here's the acoustic. So there's the acoustic. You hear it? Now I will tell you, this is Maddie. She's very soft picker. She's very nice, good tone. So this is easy to mix, and it actually sounds good. If she goes to a drop here, that's fine. See? That's when you might want to bring it up. And then the band comes in. I'm going to pull the acoustic back as that builds, and I'm going to bring in the electric and see what happens. I'm going to bring in the keys now. Listen to this. I mean, this is a lot going on an electric guitar part. So let me just show you guys. Let me just show you this. Let me show you what's going on here. Okay, this is a lot going on. Let's imagine, because the mix still sounds good to me. Bass, drums, and then you have vocal, which we know the vocal's killer, the drums and bass, they're killer. They're there. They're what we want. We've already got them set, right? Let's say that we just got rid of the acoustic and the keyboard player totally, and we just put the electric guitar player in this mix and listen to what would happen to it. This is the way this guy is playing. This is all you would really need in this mix. Not saying you don't need an acoustic or a keyboard player in the band. I'm just saying that when you're mixing, you can really not muddy. You can muddy it up with these three instruments. And I think that's where a lot of people's mix philosophy gets mixed up, is they go like, okay, we got all the instruments. We can hear them all. They're all in there. That's not true. In a broadcast mix, that is not going to be true. You're not going to always hear the acoustic guitar. I've been next to guys mixing. They're like, oh, we'll turn the acoustic up. Well, the acoustic is turned down on purpose in the mix, especially when you've got an electric guitar player going, ja, 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 ja. You got them doing that. You don't need an acoustic player going, check, 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 and the hi-hat going, that doesn't make any sense. This is not how we mix in broadcast. It's not how you mix for producing an album. If you want a big, loud, noisy church band, then you can just turn everything up and let them play, and that's what you get. And that's at the end of the day, like I said, you'll get to the end of that road and go, I don't feel like that's really that great. It's okay. All right, so let me just put on the electric guitar. Let's just put it on. So here's our here's electric guitar. We'll go to this part. It's pretty good. Yeah, this is the wrong sort of scenario. This song really needs an acoustic, so let's go ahead and add her first. Let's add the acoustic, and then I'm going to put the icing on the cake with this electric. Let's do that. And this is the decisions you're going to be making live in broadcast mix. This song needs the acoustic because it's just sort of empty. Let's hear it. You can solo out. See, she's right there. And then let's go ahead and add the electric. And then if you want to add the, well, here's the drop down. Watch, I'm going to push the acoustic right here. I'm going to push it up. I'm going to go over and grab a pad. So I have a pad here. And here comes the electric. And the keys. I'm going to pull the acoustic down as the band goes. I'm going to pull the acoustic down. Okay, so we have issues in this mix already, and this is my squeaky thing. We have issues in this mix that basically there's a pad in here, there's a keyboard in here, and there's a guitar player playing a very paddy thing, okay? So honestly, when you get to your broadcast mix day and you're getting ready to go live, it's not like you know all of this. You may, if you rehearse, you might know a lot of this, but you're going to be making decisions in this per song, per moment, and you're going to be like, oh, I need some more pad, or oh, I need a little less of that electric. And if you can see this and get this down, I'm making movements like this. Watch this electric guitar fader. If you can see, like I'm like, oh, I need a little more electric. I barely move it. I mean, literally, like, ding, That's it. Oh, I need more acoustic. When I wanted her to come way out in the mix, I raised her up on my screen like, okay, that was like a quarter inch on my screen. I mean, literally just 2 or 3 points on there. So from -13 to like -10. That's it. And that boosted her above. Your mix is very delicate in that sense. It's not like, oh, I want more electric. Oh, I want more acoustic. Oh, no, you cannot be doing this. This is the key to really making the mix flow and feel right as you're doing it. You're like, I need a little more vocal. When I got the keys and the electric and acoustic in there, her vocal started seeming a little buried to me. Just a little buried. It was probably down at -11. I lifted it up to like -10, like 1 point. Okay, and it was like, oh, there it is. It's on top. So as we added some more stuff into there, it got a little bit buried, and that's the kind of stuff you're doing. You're listening and adjusting all the time in the broadcast mix. It's very rare that you're going to set stuff and leave it. Now, the drums and bass, you are mostly setting and leaving. Once our thing starts, we're not really doing much to the drums and bass. We're leaving them alone, and that's the foundation. And then we're focusing in your mind. You're always focusing on the lead vocal. Where is the lead vocal in relation to the drums and bass and the snare? The snare and the lead vocal, and then everything else is literally like just kind of coming in from the side, coming in, coming underneath, coming around. Maybe an electric guitar solo swells over the top for a moment, but then the lead vocal's got to come back up into the center of the universe. It has to be. But the drums and bass can never feel like they've been put into a ball and shoved down here. Like, okay, now they're down here and the vocal's up here. That is what I see a lot of people mixing like. A lot of young mixers, they just think the vocals have to be on top, so they just throw them way up there. So keep the vocals. It's a more delicate balance between the vocal and the band. So now let's get into, if you have any questions, let me know. There are less questions today. I think the webinar style was cool. Because I got a lot of good questions. But the problem with the webinar is, honestly, the webinar audio was terrible. Webinar Jam's audio is disastrous. It's probably like some terrible, like 40K or something. I don't know what it is. It's not anywhere near good enough audio to show you what I want to show you. So we have a pretty good mix, and this is all done in just this snippet. I took a little yellow box, and I grabbed this, and I just kept going over it and over it until it gets better and better. Now, this is what you're going to do on Sunday, hopefully. If you have Logic, you can actually record a snippet of practice. You can practice practicing, and then when you go live, you're like, yeah, I got everything dialed in. Okay, it does take practice, and it takes a delicate, I think what I'm saying is a delicate balance of faders. If the snare seems a little too loud to you, if you perceive that the snare is sticking out above the vocal or just that it's starting to annoy you, you literally just take it down like this much. Just barely, barely, barely. Okay. Okay, Andrew, yeah, come up with some good questions, man. I'm going to go into vocal, and hopefully tonight or today you can see how much difference a verb makes in a vocal. I will show you a little bit of a problem we had last week. After this, I'm going to show you what we did. We had a mix where the lead vocalist didn't have any reverb on her, and it was just an accident from my team, and we didn't put it on there, and then the service started, and later I listened, like, oh, it's pretty dry. She did a killer job, but then it was just a little dry for me, and I'll show you the difference. I have that segment over here. But I'm going to add in now to this mix, I'm going to put in background vocals, and this is key. Listen, background vocals can be the largest disaster in your mix. I'm not against 3-part harmony, 4-part harmony. I'm not against a bunch of harmonies and stuff like that if you're really good at it. A lot of times, if you don't practice and write out harmonies, they're not going to match. Vocal, my degree is in vocal education, okay? So I can speak into this pretty confidently. And if you got 3 vocalists on stage and they're singing 3 different harmonies, they're not matched up because they're not specific. They're not Southern gospel harmonies. If you listen to any Chris Tomlin album, find me 3-part harmony. Find me and send it to me. There isn't that much 3-part harmony going on in Elevation in Chris Tomlin. And you know what? Even if there is, even if you would think that I'm wrong about talking about this in the sense of saying there's not a lot of 3-part harmony, the mixes don't have a ton of 3-part harmony. There may be somebody in there singing an alto, and there may be a tenor in there singing a tenor, and there may be parts of it where it might come out and it might be like, oh, that's a harmony. That's a big harmony. But I don't hear in modern worship production, I don't hear a lot of locked in tight harmonies. I hear a lot of what Hillsong used to do. I figured this out back in the day. They would just have everybody singing melody, and then it'd have like one harmony going underneath. That's my preference in vocal production. If you get too many harmonies, it's extremely hard to mix, and I'm not going to even get into that. I'm going to pick one. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to pick one of these vocalists. I'm going to pick either Robbie or Emily, and I'm going to find out which one of them is singing the harmony that sounds really good, and that's the production mix I'm going to use for this set. I'm not going to use probably both of them. Very often they're not singing all three harmonies. They're not locked right in. So you start mixing them in, and then it's like, okay, well, what happened? This harmony is going this way, this way. It becomes dissonant is what happens. It can become dissonant very quickly. So if you're struggling with harmony mixing in your live stream, or even in your church, because live, I will tell you, front of house, often we do the same thing. We'll pick one harmony and put it right up underneath the lead vocals. So it's going to be like a pillow for the lead vocals. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The harmony is going to be pillowed right up underneath the lead vocal. That's going to be the tight harmony. And then if you had another harmony that was lower or out in the distance or really verbed out, that could work. But it's not necessary. When we're in our live front house mix, you can do this pretty easily. You can turn people up and down and kind of move it around as they're going. And you can kind of listen and see if it's working. And if it is, you can leave it. If it's not, you can kind of pull it back. That's okay if you're a producer in the mixing console, if you're producing while you're mixing. But if you're not, let's say you just turned all three people up and you just played it. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, that sounds kind of dissonant. And it will sound dissonant unless it's perfect. Even two melodies, even if you're saying sing melody with me, unison, let's call it unison. Singing unison is extremely difficult to get well. Choirs will spend more time trying to get their unison perfect than they will be doing harmonies. So if not, it sounds dissonant, it can sound weird. So you've got to get your harmonies, you've got to pick your battle with harmonies, basically. And so you might say, we're going to have one person sing an alto line. So we have Maddie singing the lead. Let's say Robbie, and I think he does have a pretty good harmony on this one. So I'm going to pull Robbie in first, and I'm going to say, what's he doing? Is it going to be right? Is it going to feel right? Is it going to be in a pocket? Can I put it underneath? Can I make this a pillow underneath the lead vocal? And then that's how I'm going to do it. Let's listen to it first, and then I'll keep talking about harmonies. But my advice is simplify them. Have somebody that can sing a harmony, sing the harmony. Have everybody else sing a melody, whether it's an octave lower, octave higher, whatever, because then it becomes a wall of vocal sound. That is the method that I've seen. A lot more in modern worship than having a whole bunch of people singing harmonies. And this is a stylistic thing, okay? If you're Southern gospel, totally different, completely different. If you're singing Hillsong songs, I don't think there's a lot of 3 or 4 part harmony in Hillsong. And so why would you go up on stage and sing 3 or 4 part harmony to Hillsong? I don't know. That's up to you. I wouldn't do it, but that's just me. This is my YouTube channel, so I get to make up as many opinions as I want to. I wouldn't sing 4 part harmony to Hillsong. That's me, okay? I would sing a lead. I would have one person who can really hit a harmony right underneath me, and then I would have everybody else singing melody like the congregation. Here we go. Bam! I knew he was going to nail this. See, I knew he knows this harmony well and nails this harmony. So I'm going to put this right up underneath her. It's going to feel like I don't want him with her like this. I want her here on top of the mix. I want him underneath, just like a little, like almost like from the side, just kind of propping her up. And that's what it's going to sound like. Listen to this. Yeah, you see, they're very, let's solo this, let's solo this, solo this. All right, so he's pretty good. He's pretty good on that harmony. He's nailing it, and this mix sounds good. Let's do a not great mix of the vocal harmony. Let's say that, and I'm moving this hair, moving it a hair at a time until I feel like it's right in the right place. Don't be afraid to move it a little bit down, just a hair, and be perceiving what's happening in this vocal relationship right here. They're actually relating to each other right now in a good way. This is a very good mix. I'll pull it up and make it not so good in a minute. Let's turn off the verbs. Not as good. Now you see when I turn the verb off, it just sort of exposed everything that is, it just sort of made everything sound bad. It made everything sound bad just right there. Just turn the verb off. Bam. It sounds dry. It sounds just very exposed and not in a good way. It just feels like the vocals are just right out there. Wes, fellow vocal person here, let's see. What you said makes a ton of sense, but wouldn't the melody in octaves and one harmony, alto, tenor, whichever, sound kind of hollow with the other chord tone missing? I don't think so. No, I don't agree with that. Wouldn't the melody in octaves and harmony, alto, tenor, whichever, sound kind of hollow with the other chord tones missing? No. No, because, I mean, the thing, I guess the idea of that is there's a missing chord tone in the vocal. You're not creating a wall of vocal. You're not. It's like when you're playing a piano chord and you leave out the third, then you're actually playing the first and the fifth, and it feels, it feels open. Maybe you're like, oh, I need the third. Oftentimes I leave the third out of my chords anyway, and you can know that if you play a second, like a C2, then you leave the third out on purpose, put that chord, it opens it up. I think it actually opens the vocal up. I don't think it, in terms of hollowness, I wouldn't call it a hollowness. There is technically a chord tone missing, but my approach to modern worship is not a wall of vocal sound. If you're talking about a Southern gospel tune, then yes, it might sound weird if you left out like the third and it was just like the fifths, or if you left out the fifth. But we've got an entire wall of band sound happening. We've got guitars and keyboards and everything. It's not really missing. I wouldn't say that, but I mean, it's a good thought, but I don't think so. Maybe there's I feel like when you put I feel like it goes the other way. When you put the root, the third, and the fifth in the vocal, and you just nail them through the sound system, then it becomes a very big wall of vocal tone, like a vocal chord coming out. And modern worship doesn't have that. It doesn't have that sound. It's really more lead vocal driven. And then the harmonies are like sort of, I would be more like the icing on the cake, or what I've been calling them in my mix training is kind of like the pillow for the lead vocalist. That's all it is. That's all it is. They don't need that. We don't even need this vocal. We could turn him off and she would sound totally fine and the song would live and be great. He's just a little interest in this song. That's my opinion. All right, so let's go back here and see what happens. Let's get the verb back on here.
I believe you rose again. I believe that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Are you doing that again?
So I can keep going. I can keep talking about this. If you have vocal rehearsal, if you're using a service like Worship Online where you're actually learning all of the harmonies for every song, and some of the songs probably do have 3 parts. I can't say that they don't. I know that they have, sometimes they'll have 3-part harmony. Maybe they do. Maybe some of them do. Even if since we're in the mix thing, if the vocalists are playing 3-part harmony, even more important for you guys to know as mixers, which one is the lead, which one is the fifth, the third, which one is the one that you want to pillow under, which one do you want to bury? Because you're gonna be stacking up the sound. You're gonna stack up the sound. So if somebody's singing the low tone like the baritones, obviously they're gonna be on the low end. They're gonna be kind of on underneath. You got the soprano singing the high part. They're gonna be kind of on top. The chord's going to be stacked too. So in the mix, what if, and I've heard this on Livestream mixes, you got some guy singing the low harmony, some random low harmony, and he's louder than the lead vocalist. Okay, so you have a whole issue of mixing the vocals to make them right as well. So you got to know which one's right. So let's put Robbie above Maddie for a moment, and let's see if it doesn't sound terrible with him just on top there. And it's like, oh, she's the lead singer, but his vocal's way up here. It's going to sound funny. But this happens all the time. Not in our mix, but I'm saying this happens all the time in a lot of mixes. People will not know what's going on, and the lead vocalist is just buried underneath the harmony. It has happened in our mix. It has happened.
I believe you rose again.
See, this sounds terrible. That is terrible. So if that happens, it's your fault, not Robbie's fault. Robbie's singing a good harmony. It sounds amazing when it's placed right. If you put them together, let's put them together. Let's put them together at the same spot. Let's be like, okay, we're just going to put them together.
I believe you rose again.
It's not great. It's bad when you put them together. See how much difference it can make. Just a 1/4 inch on the fader can destroy this vocal mix. Let's put Emily in and see what happens. I'm hesitant to do this because I don't think their 3-part harmonies were tight, but I could be wrong. Let me listen to see if she's even singing. First, let's get Robbie right.
I believe you rose again.
Let's say we like that, okay?
I believe that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Are you doing that again?
Yeah, they do it again. This is rehearsal. So actually, in this rehearsal set, they were killing it. They were actually, I mean, these vocal harmonies sound pretty good together, but they're very, very, very sensitive mixing. If I put Emily's mic too high by a hair or two, it's going to get weird. Let's do it. See, this sounds like just a mess of sound, and it has nothing to do with the vocalist on stage. That's why this little webinar I'm doing makes me understand so much of what I've talked about for years. The sound guy is in the band. I have been kiboshed by so many sound guys in my life. I have been up there playing solos, doing lead stuff, producing the band, doing my stuff. I've been the worship leader a long time, and then I get off stage and they're like, we didn't hear any of that. What were you doing on the guitar? Your fingers were moving, but nothing was coming out. That is probably my biggest pet peeve as a performer, worship leader, musician, my whole life. And I go like, dudes, where are the guitar parts? Are they even on? Oh, well, they were on a little bit. They were on there. They were in there a little bit, I think. And, my wife or my friends would be like, yeah, we didn't hear any of that. Like that was nothing. We are spending a ton of time producing parts, learning parts, playing parts, and then you as a sound guy, as a mixer, can literally debunk the whole thing just by a few hairs of a mixer fader. That is how important this is. A few hairs of a mixer fader, and this 3-part harmony that they're doing sounds horrendous. Listen to accidentally putting the secondary guy above too far, and it's bad. I am so sorry, Robbie and Maddie and Emily. I'm so sorry you're getting used in this example. This is terrible. But listen how good it can sound if we just put it right. I'm going to put it right, and I'm going to listen to it, and you're going to be like, whoa, that is right. That sounds good. And we're talking about literally hair movements on these faders. Listen to Maddie first. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Maddie in, then I'm going to tuck Robbie up underneath her. He's going to be the pillow, and then I'm going to put Emily's vocal in just at the very end. Very faintly, it's going to come in, and you're just going to hear it just sort of very faintly, and it's going to sound right. Here's how it's going to sound. again.
And I believe in you. I believe you rose again. I believe that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Boom.
I believe in God our Father.
Don't mess it up, guys. I mean, really, mixers, take it dead seriously. This webinar for me is eye-opening. I already know this stuff, but listening to it and listening to the difference that you can make as a mixer, as a skilled mixer, it makes all the difference. Listen,
I believe
let's do it a cappella here. Listen to this.
I believe you rose again.
Fluffy pillow underneath.
I believe
And we're gonna put a little icing on
that
it.
Jesus Christ is Lord.
Are you doing that again?
Yeah.
Here we go.
And I believe in you. I believe you rose again. I believe Jesus Christ is Lord. I believe in God our Father. I believe in Christ the Son. I believe in the Holy
Listen to that guitar.
Spirit. Our God is three in one. I believe in the resurrection.
You're gonna kill it here.
That we will rise again. For I believe in the name of Jesus. I believe in life eternal. I believe in the virgin birth. I believe in the saints' communion and in your holy church. I believe in the resurrection when Jesus comes again. For I believe in the name of Jesus. For I believe in the name of Jesus.
All right, so what's going on here, guitar guy? So I'm listening to this mix, and you can't do this in broadcast in real time, but it sounds like this guitar is very, very, very open, and it's causing a little bit of noise in the mix. Okay, so I'm probably going to produce that down. I'm going to probably get rid of some of that long tail. The long tail reverb, this is creating a lot of noise, and I want to use the parts, but this guy's got some killer tone. But like when you're listening to that, I can start to hear like what's going on, what is this noise I'm hearing, this noise? And I already knew it was a guitar, but if you just solo some stuff out, you can listen to it and go like, what is going on? What's causing me to hear this? That's another thing you can do as a mixer. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments here. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Andrew, for checking out the video, for sticking in and answering good questions. I've always said from the beginning, and now would be a good time. I'll just go ahead and let you guys know again. In the link of the description of this video, you can actually get 50% off the worship mix training. And really, a lot of my live training is just on YouTube. It's just right there. But I do have some foundational training and some other things in there. Oh, Andrew and okay, cool. Where you guys from? Andrew and Wes. I feel like on reverb, can you break down your reverb effect in a little more detail? I think you're throwing everything. Yeah, I think you're throwing everything needing reverb into what amounts to a single bus, so everything gets the same decay. Yes. Is there a magic number for that, or is it something where? Yeah. Okay. I think I'm on our Facebook friends with you, Wes. I might be Bethany. Virginia. Or maybe I just know. I feel like we're Facebook friends. I don't know. Maybe we're not. Well, we should be. Anyway, yeah, I'll mix this down. If you go, you can save, if you're training a team, you can get the foundations bundles and all that. But let's get back into this. let me show you my reverb. I said last night, I'm a very simple, for a reason. It's not like I don't want to use a lot of plugins, but our computer just isn't up to. I mean, I'm on my MacBook Pro now. It's pretty old. It's got 16 gig of RAM. It's a little bit older. It's definitely older. I usually buy a really massive machine that's a couple years used, and then I just run it until it dies. Okay, that's what I do. At our church, we were given a MacBook, like 11-inch, 12-inch, 13-inch MacBook, 16 gig of RAM. It's a pretty new computer, maybe like 2017. It's still a couple years old. What I've noticed that I get a lot of latency if I start putting a lot of plugins and start doing a lot of stuff. If I did a lot of that I wanted to do, I feel like the latency would be overwhelming. So what I did in the last couple months is I went through and was like, I got rid of plugins. I got rid of some stuff that I was like, well, don't really need that. And I noticed when I was doing that it didn't really matter. I didn't need, and we've got a couple plugins on here that are probably irrelevant now. But some of the plugins that take up more power, like the reverb, I would probably technically want a different reverb on my snare drum, a different reverb on the vocal, maybe a reverb on different stuff. But when I did that, my computer was acting funny, and it just wasn't worth it. So what I did was I used bus 1. So I used bus 1, snare, top, kick, and I put a reverb on bus 1. It's a reverb. So let me show you what I have. And honestly, large room, let's see. Before I mess this up, I will save it. Save as. I'm just going to save it in case I mess it up. Basically, I just threw reverb on there, and you can look and see here what it is. I don't even know what it is, but yes, your answer is right. There isn't a magic number. You should put it on here, and what I like to do is just, reverb is hard because sometimes it doesn't sound very natural, okay? It sounds unnatural. So let me just put myself up here. It can sound unnatural. So what I did with this reverb unit is I put it on there, and I just picked one of the templates. Okay, so I went in here, I went into ambiences, chambers, and I picked a few, and I just messed with some. Okay, I said, okay, drum chamber, piano, vocal chamber. It probably is a vocal chamber. I'm not sure exactly which one it is. I'm not going to change it, though, because what I did when I put it on there, I listened to the vocal. So let's go ahead and solo out. Let's see. Let's solo out Maddie and just listen. So what I do, if you're on a DAW, if you're on that, I listen to the tail of the verb. I listen to the tail. So I go. I kind of stop the tape. It's 100% wet. That is key, I think, because it's all wet. If it's dry, if we add the dry in, it would be more like. So I just messed around with stuff. I probably did change the distance. So this is at 46 decay. Well, that was crazy, but you can just move this around. If you get it too far. That's a really short decay, like ja, ja, and this is really long. It sounds cool though. Too much. Okay. Okay, so I'm just listening to this until I feel like it sounds right on her vocal, and that's what I focused on. Okay, that's how I set it up, and then you add it. You add this into. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I've lost work before. I've lost a lot. So the size, the density, pick a good reverb if you're on a DAW, and then just find one that's for vocal, and then listen to it sounds right, because it's going to shine out on your vocals the most. And here's the thing about reverb. I know you guys are having you got this lively room. Reverb is going to, it's the weirdest thing, but if you just practice with it, start with just the vocal reverb and just put it on your vocals, because once it's on the vocal, it almost bleeds over to everything. It feels like you can't put reverb on everything. You can't just run it all over there. That can't work. Now, I've run a lot over to the reverb. So to say that, you can run a lot over there, but don't just turn on reverb and run everything over. It'll sound terrible. Don't put a reverb on your master fader. That would be bad. Most likely. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I'm just saying it would be against my internal compass to put a reverb on the master fader. So don't do that necessarily. But I put it on the vocals first until it sounds really good. And then I said, okay, now that it's on the vocal, let's see what else needs it. And a snare was definitely going to need it. So I put it on the kick too, which is probably not, it sort of feels like it goes against my internal compass of what you should do. But it works it sounds pretty good on our mix, so I put it on there. I put it on the toms a lot, because when they hit the toms, boom, it sounds like, you could put a whole reverb section on your drums. If you had enough power in your computer, you could put one on your drum bus and just, let your drums go into that one, and you could send not just on your top of your drum mix, because you don't want reverb on your overheads, okay? So there's just some things you want to do out. So I set it to answer your question more specifically, I set it for the vocals. And I listened to several until I thought, that just sounds pretty good. It sounds good. It's not the best. I'm sure it's probably not the best reverb ever. I'm sure that there's somebody who could come over next week and they could be like, hey, check this reverb out. And they could put it on there. I work with some pretty high level people in the production world. So I have learned, like, hey, if they show up and they'll be like, hey, we use this reverb unit and it's right here. Check it out. I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. So I think our reverb sounds pretty good. I don't think it's probably the best reverb ever, but the main point is there is reverb, and that is the most important part. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's like, it's reverb, If you look at some of the high-end reverbs, the Waves plugins and stuff that cost a lot of money or whatever, and you get one of those and you put it on and it sounds amazing, then dude, that's awesome. But I don't focus on that because I don't have that kind of money. Our church is small. We don't have a ton of money to go buy like thousands of dollars worth of plugins just to make our reverb better. That is not going to fly down our church, okay? So you're going to work with what you got. These are all stock plugins. Everything that came with Logic, I found it. I made it work, and it actually works pretty good. I'm not even unhappy with it. I just think what I'm saying to you is set your reverb with to the tail, so the tail's not too long, but it's not too short. If you want me to show you, this is about right.
Of Jesus, of Jesus.
It's got a little bit, it's got a little breath after it. If you get too not enough, it's going to sound boxy.
Of Jesus,
See how it's a Jesus? It kind of boxed out, right?
of Jesus.
That's not going to be. That's a little bit. That's better than none. But I want to be able to hear the reverb enough, but not make it be like, oh, that's weird.
Of Jesus.
That's nice. There's a little bit of after the sound. That's what I like. What about too much? What if I was like crazy and I went like this?
Of Jesus.
Okay, that's way too loud, long, and it also creates this like wow in the sound, and that's going to muddy everything up. Let's run the whole mix with this. Let's see what happens if I run the whole mix with the reverb too loud, too long, the tail too long.
Of Jesus.
You hear that when I stopped it, how it just kept going wow like that? That is too much. So I'm at 1.5, 1.4. There. Now, if you're standing in your room and you here's the thing. you don't want to don't set your reverb to match your room. What if your room's really bad? What you said your room may have been really lively or really unruly or something you said last night. So if your room is like, you hit the snare and it's like, pa, pa, it's like really ringy. Don't go in and be like, let's set that up to where it sounds like that online too. That's not necessarily the case. If you have a really live room like that, actually I'd be a little bit jealous, because if you had a room where you hit the snare, it was like boom, you could use a room mic in your room with your reverb. So that's what I would do. I would put a room mic in there. I wouldn't try to recreate the sound of your room with the reverb. I'm creating the sound of a room, a good room. So if your room is unruly, I wouldn't go like, here, let's make our room usually has a really loud echo. Let's put a big echo on the live stream. That would just be a taste issue. 1.6 decay, and it's not a number, it's a feel, it's a sound. So there, it's a sound, and then that's enough. Let me try to find this video of a vocal that we had not enough reverb on our live stream just the other day, and actually the vocal's right here. I think they're right here, and was this last week? Yeah, no, that's not it. Here it is. Your shackles are no more, for Jesus Christ has broken every chain. No, this mix is good. My wife did this mix. That's a good mix. The problem is on our live stream, and I'm not going to pull it up. Go to our Church at Spring Hill Facebook page. We did a song. We did the song. It was this song right here. It was this last song. Okay, we're going to go off the name of Jesus for the rest of the webinar. We're going to be on this one. It's not that one. Dark shadows pull. Here it is. So this. Okay, so basically we had her vocal. I'm not going to go into it. It's too much work at this point. I'm going to have to remix that whole section, and that's okay. You can get some of the templates you can get, and you can listen to them. The reverb is so I set the reverb. If you don't put the reverb on everything, so what happened is this handheld to Emily that week, the reverb was down on like negative. It was used by the pastor the week before, so we had it down to like negative 39, just a little bit of reverb, so it was just barely in there, okay? And then when she sang, it was just really dry over top of the band. So make sure you get all your vocal mics about the same level into the reverb. I put a little bit of reverb on the acoustics, a little bit on the electric. I put a lot on the snare, a little bit on the bass drum, a lot on the toms, and that's it. What I was saying about this thing is, if you have reverb on the vocals, and it's a good amount of good reverb on the vocals, everything else is gonna sound reverby. Okay, it just sort of verbs out the mix. It's not like the snare is not gonna come out. The snare needs its own little bit of verb on there. But like, you don't need reverb on all the instruments, in other words. So don't try to put reverb on everything. If you put a good amount of reverb on the vocal, like I have some reverb on this board. If I put a little bit of reverb on this vocal, so I'm talking in this vocal mic, and if I started playing my guitar along with this, it would sound good. It would sound verby. Our mind would tell us, oh, he's in an echo chamber. He's in an echo chamber. And if I started playing the guitar, or the drum bass started playing, and I'm singing with reverb, it would feel reverby. The whole mix would feel that way. So not every single instrument has to be cranked in the reverb, but the reverb has to be there to color the thing. And then the room mic is that little bit of extra that I use. I would use a room mic and use it very sparingly and use some reverb until you can feel that it's right. It's like, I feel like that sounds a lot like our room, or it sounds like it's a room. It sounds like a pretty good room. It sounds more natural to us. And do not be afraid. The worst thing that you could do with reverb is have too much of it, and then who's going to care? Nobody's going to be like, hey man, that was too much reverb. You can't really destroy the mix with too much reverb unless you just got a really long tail and it's like, wow, all over the mix, just creating a bunch of noise. So don't be afraid to put don't be afraid to let it feel like that. And go back to Matt Maher's live records and listen. I won't do it on this video because they'll probably flag it on YouTube for songs, but go listen to Matt Maher's live records and listen to how live his drums are, how live the room is, how live the entire thing is. It's a total, it's really live. All right. And any more questions today? I think I'm going to be done today, man. I need to go get some breakfast. I think I could do this all day. I thank you guys for coming. Just check out all the YouTube videos. We have playlists, and I'm doing this all the time. And let me know specifically any topics that you want me to cover, because I keep covering my down-up mix philosophy and different things, which is good. But if you have any specific things, and what is Wes and Andrew? I would love to listen to your live stream. Pop in. You said you're West Bethany Baptist Church at Westerfield. I will go on there and I will check it out on Facebook. Let's see. I'm assuming you're live streaming on Facebook. I won't show it to people here, but if you want me to, I will. I did some mixed critiques for some churches here. Bethany Place Baptist Church, Richmond. Chesterfield, are you in Richmond? Is this you all right here? Richmond, Bethany Place, or is this a different one? Let's see, Bethany Place. From South Africa. Oh, it's a 3-minute video. Okay. I got worried there. I think that might be you guys. I'll like them anyway. They'll be excited about that. BethanyPlace.com. And then let me see. Let's see. Wes, you have kind of a strange name, so I'm pretty sure I'm already your Facebook friend. Maybe not. I know you're in those groups with me. I think you're in Worship Leader Plus, stuff like that. All right. Anyway, yeah, okay, cool. I was gonna say, I know I've seen your name because it's spelled kind of funny. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I'll check it out. And I'll let you guys know. Hey, just keep it going. The whole thing about this live stream thing is it's extremely hard. I mean, before I was doing live stream, I was running production studio, recording, so to me it was like a little bit more of my world. So it was like, oh, we want to do live stream mix? Okay, I can do this. I'm into live stream mix. But it was a little bit more of my world. So when my church first started, they said, well, we're just going to stay off social media. It's terrible. It's a disaster. I was going to they were like, why don't we just take the cable out of our mixer and plug it into our live stream mix, and we'll just do it like that. And I was like, I was in this meeting thinking, this is not good. This is not going to go good. I've done this before. My whole life has been recording, so I'm like, this is not going to happen. We're not going to do that. But a lot of people do that. A lot of people just take their mixer, take the left channel and just shove it into their iPhone and be like, there's our live stream mix. And then that's why they're like, oh, what's going on with it? It's weird. It needs something else. So that's when we first started, I was on an X32 and I was just mixing. We didn't have an audience, so we were just mixing straight off our console right into our iPhones, basically. And then we upgraded over like 6-8 months, and now we're running 2 systems and trying to train everybody. So it's an extremely hard process, especially with limited funds. We have limited funds. We're a small church, and with the pandemic, everything kind of smacked us in the face. A lot of my tech guys quit, and they went off. They won't come to church without, they won't come. They didn't quit the church, but they're like, well, we're not going to come back for a while. Well, so I've been almost mixing live stream or mixing on the soundboard every Sunday, probably for like 9 months. And except for a couple Sundays I left. I left for a month in September and went to Florida, and I was like, whatever happens, happens. And it just kind of, things weren't great during that time, and we had some transitioning team members, so it was fine. But now, I'm in the booth, and I'm going to be in the booth. I've just committed to being there, and every week until we get the rest of our team trained. We've got a good set of guys coming on. Some people are coming back. But 1 week you can have a really good mix, and the next week you can have a different guy, and then you can have one guy didn't come, and then you got one guy mixing both. Some weeks I'm actually mixing the live stream and the X32 at the same time. But I've done it long enough to where I can know that's the faders are where they should be, so I'm going to leave them alone. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle, man. And Wes and Andrew and everybody who also commented, thanks for doing that. Let me know. I'll be back on, and I'll check out your guys' stuff if you want me to do a live stream mix critique later on as you get moving, or if you have any questions, send me an email. It's been a great Saturday morning. And, so tomorrow morning, every week it's different. Every week it's a challenge. And I kind of thrive on that, it's actually taken my mind off the pandemic. Hey, Ashish from India. Welcome, man. It's taken my mind off the pandemic because I just be like, I don't know, the pandemic's not happening. I'm not paying attention. I'm just at church. I'm working on the mix, and I'm in the booth, and I'm just trying to keep myself busy, because when I don't keep myself busy, then I start watching political commentary, and then I explode. My head explodes, okay? And then I get really angry. So I'm going to try to be less angry and try to move forward in faith. So that's what you can pray for me. Pray for my church, that we get more volunteers, that some of our guys come back, and pray that I can quit listening to political commentary, because it's driving me crazy. All right, I'm going to pray for you guys, and then we're going to head out. Thank you, Lord, for this webinar, for this opportunity to get together. We're spreading the gospel. We're doing a lot of times I'll ask myself, why are we doing this? Why are we working so hard? Why are we trying to do this? But then somebody will get saved off our live stream mix, and they'll come to our church and say, I started watching on Facebook, and then I realized it's a bigger picture. God, I pray for each one of these churches that have really been under attack from shutdowns and government mandates. I pray that we would be stronger, we would be more bold to share the gospel, and that we would get our technology together to really go out there as people are silencing the gospel, that we can just make it louder and louder. In Jesus' name, amen. That's Worship the King started. Our first tagline ever was, raise the voice of worship on the earth. I wanted it to be louder than any other sound, and I think that's kind of happening in our society as we're being silenced as a church in general, and being told we can't meet, or we shouldn't meet, or how are we going to meet. We're actually like, okay, well, we'll just meet on Facebook, and we'll just blast the airwaves with worship. All right, God bless you guys. I'll see you on the next video. It's been great. It's been fun, and thank you for coming. All right, I did leave, and then I stayed here. Somebody asked a question, and I'm on split screen share. This is really weird. Yeah, I'll make. Oh wow, this will be great. Look at this, screen one. I'm showing the. I'm still here. I'm gonna leave. I promise. You go to the shop for the template. You go to the shop. You go down here to downloads. Click downloads on worshiptheking.com downloads, and then this is the mix logic template right here. I'm gonna paste it in the thing for you. Should be right here. It's not letting me paste. Hold on. Just go to this page and click on that logic template, the one that says December 2009, and there it is.